I know some people are going to say this video is a little too premature to make because we're only 23 games into the season and there is still a lot of time left to go before we can start making some of these claims that I'm about to make in this video. But with the way the Bulls' recent acquisition from this offseason and DeMar DeRozan has been performing at a near MVP level caliber, I thought we would be remiss to not talk about this guy and how he has turned around the perception of him ever since joining the Bulls, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, real quick, I'm trying to hit 20,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you're new to the channel or maybe you've been watching for a while and just hadn't had a chance to hit the subscribe button yet, consider subscribing as I'll be covering Bulls basketball all season long. Join the hype of this team. You are not going to want to miss out, and it would also mean a great deal to me as I put in a good deal of work into this channel. So appreciate you guys in advance. And with that said, let's get back into the content. So ever since DeMar DeRozan entered the league back when he was drafted in 2009, 9th overall to the Toronto Raptors, there was always this perception of DeRozan being this incredibly gifted athlete with enormous talent. But could he turn himself into a bona fide superstar in this league? Because he was viewed as this high volume scorer who didn't really play the best defense and wasn't that efficient with his outside shooting. However, at that time, that was not that important because this was before the league started moving towards a three-point shooting league. Well, after an okay rookie season in which he didn't even make an all-rookie team, DeRozan broke out in his sophomore season, going from averaging 8 points per game to 17, and was a big piece of that Raptors lineup after Chris Bosh left to go play for the Miami Heat after DeRozan's rookie season. DeRozan continued to get better and better with every passing season despite never really improving his three-point shooting, and by his 5th season in the league at the age of 24, he was selected to his first All-Star game after averaging near 23 points per game and 4 rebounds and 4 assists. DeRozan went on to make 3 more All-Star teams after that and also become a 2-time All-NBA player. But despite all of this success and knowing that DeRozan was an all-star level talent, the criticism of DeRozan was that he couldn't deliver in the playoffs. Despite the Raptors being a very talented team and would make incredible runs in the regular season and even in the playoffs, the Raptors could not get over the hump in making it out of the East. And a lot of people, which I think unfairly so, put most of the blame on DeRozan, even though if you go back and actually watch those Raptors playoffs runs, Kyle Lowry was also a big piece to blame in coming up short in the postseason. Yes, some of it was on DeRozan, but a lot of it had to do with Lowry collapsing in clutch moments, poor coaching as well, but more importantly, just the guys running into LeBron James. Like, as Bulls fans, we should know better than anyone that getting out of the East in all those years from 2010 to 2019 were near impossible because of LeBron James. Whether you love him or hate him, that was just a fact. It's part of the reason why he went to 8 straight finals appearances. So for all of the DeMar DeFrozen or DeChoke DeRozan, yes, DeMar didn't have some of the best postseason performances, but I feel like people forgot that, like the Bulls, the Raptors simply ran into LeBron James, and like every other team, they couldn't get over the hump into the finals as a result. Then, of course, in 2018, after Kawhi Leonard made it clear that he did not want to play with these Spurs going forward, the Spurs were forced to trade Kawhi, and the Raptors took a big gamble by giving up one of their franchise players in DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard, even though they knew he likely would only be a 1-year rental. Of course, it paid off for the Raptors as Kawhi led Toronto to their first NBA championship in franchise history. And of course, the narrative quickly turned into the fact that DeMar DeRozan was the person who was holding the Raptors back, how he was the one preventing them from reaching their true potential, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's as if people forgot that, first of all, it's Kawhi Leonard that they exchanged him for. Like, I love DeRozan, but he's not on the level of player that Kawhi is. But more importantly, LeBron James was no longer in the Eastern Conference by this time and off to the Lakers. It also helped that the Warriors got injured in the finals. Otherwise, it's very possible the Raptors don't win the title had the Warriors stayed healthy. But in any event, DeRozan goes to the Spurs, and to be honest, is somewhat forgotten. Like, I can't tell you how many times I heard the narrative that after DeRozan went to the Spurs and the Raptors went on to win the NBA championship, that yes, DeRozan's still a good player, but his game just doesn't fit in today's NBA, which was heavily predicated on floor spacing and outside shooting. How DeRozan would have been a superstar had he played in the 90s, but in today's NBA, he's just an okay player. So much so to the point that when it was clear last season that he wasn't going to be a part of the Spurs' long-term plans and it was thought that he was going to be traded by the trade deadline, you heard these ridiculous, god-awful trade proposals for DeRozan. Like, I saw proposals in which people were saying that the Spurs should trade DeRozan for Marvin Bagley straight up, or for Danilo Gallinari straight up. Like, what? This is still an all-star level player. Now, of course, after DeRozan joined the Spurs, you did see his numbers tick down slightly, at least as it relates to his overall scoring, but he did become a more efficient player, and it also improved his playmaking overall. He became a much better passer. People forget that last season, DeRozan finished top 10 in the league in assists at near 7 assists per game, acting as a point forward. So anyway, fast forward to this season, and of course, as we all know, DeRozan agreed to sign with the Bulls by way of a sign-and trade to an offer of 3 years at $85 million. Now, because of this poor perception of DeRozan throughout the league, that his game just simply doesn't fit in today's NBA, because of that perception, the Bulls signing DeRozan was viewed by most national media pundits as the worst offseason transaction. Partially because of the amount in which the Bulls paid for DeRozan, also the fact that they had to give up assets in the sign-and trade to get him, and the fact that he's older, he's 32. None of that sat well with the media. But yet, here we are, 23 games into the season. The Bulls are sitting second in the Eastern Conference at 15-8, in major part because of DeRozan's contributions to the team. And now you have people legitimately talking about him being an MVP candidate. Still early, obviously. He's going to need to maintain this level of play throughout the season. The Bulls have to keep winning for him to actually, get any type of MVP consideration. But early returns thus far would suggest that he's on track. DeMar is averaging 26.3 points per game, which is currently tied for 4th in the league, and he's doing it on phenomenal efficiency from mid-range, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. He's shooting near 50% from the field, and he's shooting a career best from 3 at 33%, which, yes, I know isn't that great, but for DeRozan, who has been a career 28% three-point shooter, is pretty solid, and he's also doing it on 2.5 attempts per game. That is a big improvement, and it's good enough to enable more floor spacing as defenders are still forced to follow him out to the perimeter because he's able to knock down some of these three-point shots. Not only that, he's shooting near 90% from the free throw line, which is also a career best thus far, and he's getting to the foul line at one of the highest rates in his career as well. On top of that, he's averaging 5.3 rebounds and 4.1 assists to go along with a steal per game. And the other great thing about DeRozan is that he's great at taking care of the ball. He's only averaging 2 turnovers per game, which at his usage and even being one of the primary ball handlers on the half court is incredible. Now, how is DeRozan doing all this? How is he, after being counted out by most of the league as not fitting in today's NBA, how is he able to revitalize his career in this manner and have a breakout season and putting up career-type numbers thus far? In some instances, even better than his best days anyway, in Toronto. And a big reason for that is the new environment for which he finds himself in Chicago, and particularly in Billy Donovan's system. Because look, when the Bulls signed DeRozan, they knew full well what type of player he is, and his play style, being predominantly a mid-range assassin who can play make but isn't necessarily the best on defense or help in spreading the floor. Like, they fully accepted DeRozan for who he is. And they said, we don't need you to adapt to today's NBA and try to become a three-point shooter like everyone wants you to be. That's not part of your game. Do what you do best. Take as many mid-range jumpers as you want. Don't worry about it being an inefficient shot, because we know you can knock them down. And the other guys on the roster, they'll take care of the outside shooting. Guys like Lavine, Lonzo, and Vucevic, who are all great outside shooters. Just play your game, focus on the bigger picture and wanting to win, and good things will happen. Of course, I'm speculating. I obviously have no idea what kind of conversations were had between Billy Donovan, the front office, and DeRozan, but based on what we are seeing, in DeRozan really having full autonomy to focus on his mid-range game, which we haven't been able to see him do as much since his earlier days in Toronto before the league started shifting to outside shooting. And because DeRozan is getting the opportunity to play the type of basketball he wants to play, he is thriving and playing some of his best basketball, and the Bulls are a direct beneficiaries of this newfound love of the art of the mid-range that we have been seeing from DeRozan on a nightly basis. And as much as I doubted all of the hot takes coming from you guys in which you talked about DeRozan being a strong MVP candidate, if he can keep up this level of play and the Bulls remain a top team in the Eastern Conference, he absolutely will be an MVP candidate. And in that conversation, who knows, maybe, just maybe, he'll even win it and be the first Bull to win an MVP since Derrick Rose. But I want to know what you guys think. What are some of the reasons for why DeRozan has been able to flourish thus far with the Bulls, and proving all of the doubters and haters wrong who were dead against this offseason move by Chicago. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget, the Bulls will be taking on the Nets tomorrow night in a battle of the East top teams. I'll have a live chat for that game, both here and in the Discord. Make sure you join the Bulls Central Discord. The link to that can be found in the description. And as always, guys, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.